The fact is that there is practically not a single day in Ukraine now without air raid alerts. Every night we hear explosions, the sound of missile and drone engines, and the echoes of air defense salvos. Every morning, photos and videos of rear area facilities in flames appear. And all of this, characteristically, if we are being frank, is mutual, both in Ukraine and on the territory of Muscovy. And all of this is happening at distances of up to several thousand kilometers deep into the rear and at bases. At the same time, Muscovy has completely stopped justifying its missile and drone strikes with military necessity and is increasingly terrorizing Ukraine's civilian rear with a wide range of cruise and ballistic missiles and jet-powered attack UAVs, without caring much about the accuracy of the strikes. Ukraine is trying to strike critically important military targets, facilities of the Muscovite military-industrial complex, military logistics chains, and enterprises that fuel the continuation of the war, primarily using drones. And in government circles, they insist that, at least from time to time, they use the newest missiles. At the very least, an effective video of cruise missile launches was released just at the end of last week. The only question is how often such missiles are launched and how many of them ultimately reach their targets. In other words, there are definitely some visually striking results. But frankly speaking, Muscovy is also causing us a great deal of pain. Sometimes it seems that long-range strikes by both sides become almost the main element of the confrontation, while the exhausting, bloody, and very intense war directly on the battlefield has almost faded into the background. In some places, this long-range exchange of fire resembles a heavyweight boxing match in the championship rounds, where blows are traded, there's simply no energy left for defense, and the only question is who can outlast the other. But, well, such an allegory, in my opinion, isn't really appropriate because behind all of this lie death and the rising cost of resources, exhaustion, and, in contrast, the enrichment of certain individuals who, well, at the very least, have artificially settled themselves into comfortable chairs. But does all of this bring us any closer to ending the war, and preferably on terms acceptable to Ukraine? So, in your opinion, Mr. Andriy, does this missile and drone exchange bring Ukraine even a second or a millimeter closer to ending the war on terms acceptable to us?
It is obvious that the pressure on the Russian economy has increased, and increased significantly. We are managing to put pressure on TH. And you are absolutely right, because the bloody battles on the front line are difficult and exhausting. Let's recall, we probably met a few months ago in the SP in the spring, and we said that the front line was no longer moving. That is, we understood that there are good successes, and they would be commented on later. But in general, for the Russians, there are problems with advancing quickly on the front line. That's why the Russians have long been striking our infrastructure, our economy. We started responding in 2025 by hitting oil refineries. In 2026, we started responding by hitting their various logistics businesses. And we are doing this absolutely correctly because it drains their economy. But this is a truly difficult challenge. Whose economy will last longer? Indeed, we are currently, and this is a very complex question that has two sides to the coin. At the same time, we are both bringing this whole situation closer and pushing it further away, depending on the outcome of this battle in the rear. If we can turn this battle in the rear to our advantage, we will come much closer to acceptable terms in a peace agreement. If we lose it, and lose it significantly, then the enemy will start imposing their more demanding capitulation terms on us again, because there are absolutely two scenarios. And right now, we are truly on these scales. Who will hold out longer? Who will find more opportunities to pressure whose economy? Unfortunately, we have our own advantage at the same time. We are high quality and effective in combined drone strikes of various types. We see that Russian air defense is generally weak. If we are achieving these results with these drones, which are not some miracle of technological breakthrough and development, imagine what our ballistics will do, which are being announced for the fall, and which we are waiting for. But at the same time, Russian ballistics and the lack of our own anti-ballistic missiles are the other side of the coin, and the enemy is using this and putting pressure on us. So there's a major challenge here regarding whether we will be able to prepare for winter. This will decide a great deal. At the same time, the president, as I see it, is looking for opportunities to end the active phase of hostilities by winter. Again, we see preparations for mobilization, how all of this is intertwined. There's a constant raising of the stakes, and sooner or later, someone has to make a mistake somewhere.
Now, you mentioned ballistics. Former Minister Fedorov literally announced at the end of the week in an interview with CBS News that in, I believe, 4 to 6 months, we will, so to speak, be striking Russia with our own ballistics. But that sounds a bit strange, because at the beginning of December last year, the current commander-in-chief stated verbatim at the time, "To be honest, we have started using Sapsan." And then, on August 9th of this year, the same incumbent President Zelensky stated that the first combat use of a Ukrainian ballistic missile could take place as early as this autumn. Well, that is, there's a bit of a mismatch in the timelines, but it's likely that in both cases, in all 3 cases, we're talking about Sapsan or Hrim 2, yes. Although in June, the head of the Come Back Alive Foundation, Taras Shmut, said that Ukraine supposedly already has and is supposedly already using a ballistic missile on the front lines capable of hitting targets at a distance of up to 900 kilometers. There are many options. In your opinion, do we ultimately have a ballistic missile? And most importantly, will the quantity, range, and accuracy of these hypothetical ballistic strikes become a decisive factor in ending the war on Ukraine's terms?
If we accumulate a sufficient quantity, and if we can systematically strike targets in the Russian Federation with those high-quality drone strikes, then this could become a game changer. But for this, we need both quality and quantity of missiles that will strike. 2 or 3 missiles a month won't change anything.
Do we have it?
As far as I know, we do have it. It is undergoing testing, and it is undergoing combat, actual combat deployment. And indeed, I hope that by the end of autumn, we will see it. And the best proof that we'll see it will be the squeals and screams of the Russians in their Telegram channels.